most of my work is based on who I am and what I'm about, my values and all of that. And so I use different tools. I use big gouges, little knives. I use ice picks. I use wire brushes. And I use anything to get the design. And it means that when I do these, I have to really come up with a good way to design the block and conceptualize. And a lot of times I use how light works on the thing. So I use all my artistic experience in doing the woodcuts. But I do my woodcuts are a little different than most people because I've always been kind of hard-headed and unique. But it's basically, it's my style. It's the way I work. I like to draw, so I like to incorporate drawing in my work. And this particular one, I put the paper down on there, and then I start rubbing it, and then until I can get the print to transfer from that surface. And that's what printmaking is, transferring from one surface to another surface. So I can control what happens in my print by the amount of pressure that I put on there. And if I want it to be really dark in some areas, I can just apply more pressure. And I try to use a more consistent pressure to get, you can see how I can control what happens with the print. And I can pull that off and look at it. At Henderson, I had music. I teach at VCU, I have music. I teach at the Virginia Museum, I have music. So I like to have a variety of music. And I think it also is a means by which when I'm teaching class, people can hear me. For instance, somebody that might not have heard of a particular artist, or they might not have heard any jazz, and they say, "What's that?" And then some Cuban music, and so they get, they'll kind of get a new approach. I did an exhibition, and part of that was a writing project for students. And that, people wrote different things about the work, and I was really surprised that quite a few of them picked my work. For instance, this one on the front, there were like 3 different things that different people saw from that piece. And that's called Sidewalk Sermon. This guy used to preach up at Boulevard and Broad, Chamberlain and Broad. So it says through marching and civil rights activities, and then the courts, in 1954, schools were not, they said schools should not be separate but equal, and that kind of thing. So that's kind of how I put some of those symbols in there. And I used it in that one in a little spot. But what I do is my work is either related to, it's mostly about my idea about humanistic things, humanity, people. I do kids because I was a teacher. I do the elderly people, like that one. It's actually my aunt on the wall where I have the ribbons on. And I took care of her. She died last year. She was 105. And I was she called me her mom and her daddy, so I took care of her. And so I do a lot of prints that relate to like people that I see, like that person that I saw, the corner man on the street, the kids. I grew up in a rural country place, like in Hanover. I grew up on a farm. So I do like rural scenes that relate to my grandparents and my early life, as I say, growing up in the country. Like that particular print is called Giddy Up, which shows 2 boys on a mule. That one over in the corner is an elderly woman in her, right in that very corner, this old woman. It's actually someone's grandmother, and I got captivated by that, by the woman's face, and also the dress. That's a scene of Main Street Station. Sometimes I do architectural things. This particular one has invested in African American history, called Bus Stop, and I did that for the National Civil Rights Museum at one point. And again, things like this. Actually, this one will be in MCV. They just bought one of these. It's called Let's Just Be Friends, from my teaching at Henderson, trying to tell everybody, let's just get along. Ideas. I love nature, so lately I've been doing lots of trees. I've been doing flowers, and most of these flowers are in color, but these are the first ones, so they haven't been, the color hasn't been put in there yet. And so they're in a gallery right now. So I've been doing these flowers. And then I did some flowers that related to spring, because I was waiting for the sun to come out. Historical events. If I go to the Virginia Museum, I look at a lot and I study a lot about African art. Chihuahua is one of the things that I use. A lot of times I use these as metaphors, because Chihuahua was the god that taught the people how to plant their crops and all of that. So when I use things like this, like in that one up there, it has to do with planting, and in that particular one it's related with the horse at the bottom, related to Chihuahua and the crops and the sun and nature. That one over there behind there is the tree with the, I've been doing a lot of night scenes behind the cow. John, you could sit with John, he would talk to you for hours and hours about his work and how he utilized African symbolism and historical ideas in his work. And his, he was just great to be around. He was very inspiring. There were a lot of artists that inspired me, and Charles White, and definitely John Biggers, Elizabeth Catlett, and lots of others that I learned about as I was coming along. And then I had a great teacher at Norfolk State. His name was A.B. Jackson, and he was a really fabulous artist. Some of his works in the Virginia Museum collection.
Really good. It was just a church. We were walking up some stairs, and all I saw was these nice, cool pieces, and I'm just like, wow. And all I saw was these nice pictures.
Yeah.
I wish I should have caught the names of them.
My favorite piece is this one. It's one of a fish. It was in his side room.
It was in the,
It's really pretty.
It was.
I liked his stories that he was telling about, like the back.
Yeah, he had some nice stories. He was telling us a lot.
And the cow, that was a really amazing story. Just saying about the family that had the cow and how they felt after they saw his work and after the cow died. And it was a very unique piece that he made because it had so many details in it.
Okay, so like he was saying like how he always has music playing when he does his art, and like it won't be just one type of music, like how we listen to like one type.
Diverse and stuff.
Yeah, it'll be like very, very diverse. Like 1 minute it'll be like Michael Jackson, and then another minute it'll be like some kind of country song, and then like a bong song or something, and then he like put
Like Enrique Iglesias.
and then he like put other people on to different music and stuff, and that kind of inspires him. Yeah, I like the ones that had the symbols and stuff in it. The one that had the symbols and stuff in it that meant love and peace and stuff. And the one with the police officer and the lady with the voting sign. That was cool. And like all the different ones he made about like the old lady and his daughter with the mirror.
I think it was a really good experience because it's my first time going to a studio, and especially considering I'm very interested in the arts and stuff, it was nice to see like art from someone else's perspective and how they were putting it in their own words, because we see a lot of art but we rarely get to like talk to the artists and see where they're coming from and what inspired them and all these questions that everyone was asking. And then also like seeing his studio, it's just like it's such a like dense creativity environment because there's so much work going on, and I don't know, I really liked it, and it inspired me to kind of go out of my comfort zone and work with